story The Journey of the Lost Kingdom. Once upon a time, in a land far away, there was a magnificent kingdom ruled by a wise and just king. The kingdom was prosperous and thriving, with bountiful fields, bustling cities, and a contented people. But one day a great disaster befell the kingdom. A massive earthquake struck, followed by a series of devastating storms that left the land in ruins. The cities were destroyed, the field lay fallow, and the people were left homeless and hungry. In the aftermath of the disaster, the king gathered his advisors and decided that the only hope for his kingdom was to set out on a journey to find a new home. They packed their belongings, gathered their people, and set out on a long and arduous journey through unknown lands. Part 2. The Perils of the Journey. The journey was long and dangerous, fraught with perils at every turn. The travelers had to cross treacherous mountains, navigate through dense forests, and cross raging rivers. They faced harsh weather, wild beasts, and hostile tribes. As they journeyed on, the travelers faced many challenges. They were forced to ration their food and water, and many fell ill from the harsh conditions. Some were injured in battles with hostile tribes, and others were lost in the wilderness. Despite these hardships, the king remained steadfast in his determination to find a new home for his people. He led his troops with courage and compassion, always putting the needs of the people before his own. Part 3. The Discovery. After many months of travel, the king and his people finally came upon a new land. It was a beautiful place with rolling hills, sparkling rivers, and lush forests. The people were overjoyed at the sight of their new home, and they set about building a new kingdom. They worked tirelessly to clear the land, build homes, and plant crops. They established new cities and towns, and soon the land was once again thriving. Part 4. The Challenges of a New Kingdom. But with the establishment of the new kingdom came new challenges. The people had to adapt to a new way of life, and they faced many struggles along the way. They had to learn to farm in a new climate, and many crops failed. They had to fend off attacks from wild beasts, and they had to defend themselves against raiding parties from neighboring tribes. Despite their challenges, the king and his people persevered. They worked together to build a new society, and they slowly but surely overcame the obstacles in their way. Part 5. The Legacy. In the end, the king's journey had not only saved his people, but it had also taught them valuable lessons. They had learned the importance of perseverance, cooperation, and compassion. They had learned that even in the darkest of times, there was always hope for a brighter future. And so the kingdom thrived for generations to come, a testament of the bravery and determination of its founder. The legacy of the king and his journey lived on, inspiring his people to never give up in the face of adversity and to always strive for a better tomorrow. Part 6. The kingdom's expansion. As the kingdom grew, so did the need for expansion. The king ordered expeditions to be sent out to explore the lands beyond their borders. Explorers were sent out to map new territories, find new resources, and establish trade with neighboring kingdoms. The expeditions were not without their challenges. However, many explorers were lost to the harsh wilderness or were captured by hostile tribes. But despite the dangers, the kingdom continued to expand. Part 7. The Arrival of Newcomers. As the kingdom grew in size and prosperity, word of its success began to spread far and wide. People from neighboring kingdoms and faraway lands began to arrive, seeking refuge and opportunities in the thriving kingdom. At first, the newcomers were met with suspicion and fear, but as they proved their worth and contributed to the kingdom's growth, they were welcomed with open arms. The kingdom became a melting pot of cultures and languages with people from all walks of life living and working together. Part 8. The Return of an Old Enemy. As the kingdom continued to prosper, an old enemy returned, a neighboring kingdom that had been defeated by the king's father many years ago began to gather forces and plot their revenge. The king and his advisers knew they had to act fast to defend their kingdom. They rallied their troops and prepared for battle. The ensuing war was long and brutal, with many lives lost on both sides. But in the end, the king's army emerged victorious, and the enemy were forced to surrender. Part 9. The End of an Era. As the years passed, the king grew old and his health began to fail. His advisers urged him to name a successor, but he refused, insisting that his people should choose their leader. Insisting that his people should choose their own leader. And so, upon his death, the people of the kingdom gathered together to elect their own leader. And so, upon his death, the people of the kingdom gathered together to elect their new leader. The election was a peaceful and democratic process, and the people chose a wise and just ruler to carry on the legacy of the king who had led them to their new home. The election was a peaceful and democratic process, and the people chose a wise and just ruler to carry on the legacy of the king who had led them to their new home. The kingdom continued to thrive for many generations to come, with each new ruler building on the successes of those who came before. And through it all, the lessons of the king's journey remained a source of inspiration and strength for the people of the kingdom.